Nimrod. Creating something new.
The ongoing X-Men 97 has proved to be a worthy successor to the iconic X-Men, the animated series, and even the narrative in the timeline picks up exactly where the popular 90s series left off, with the connection between the two shows very evident, and there are naturally speculations around some characters being retained from the past, and the one who steals the limelight in this regard is Bastion, the overarching villain in X-Men 97. With his twisted creation, the Prime Sentinels, his goal of mutant extinction threatens the very existence of the X-Men, and fans cannot help but connect this character to a highly advanced Sentinel named Nimrod, who was shown in X-Men the animated series. In this video, we will clarify everything around the theory of whether Bastion is Nimrod and tell you all about how they are actually connected. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. How was Nimrod introduced in X-Men the Animated Series, and what happened to him? Nimrod has a few major appearances in X-Men the Animated Series, and this advanced Sentinel from the future was first seen following Bishop when Bishop time-traveled in order to stop the assassination of Robert Kelly to prevent a terrible future for the mutants. Nimrod faced the X-Men, and he was a force to reckon with who proved to be an extremely tough adversary for the team. Even after being destroyed, Nimrod started to self-repair, and Bishop finally destroyed the device, allowing it to remain in the present day. Again, Nimrod from a dystopian future is sent back in time by Master Mold and Fitzroy to kill Charles Xavier before he could create the X-Men. Fitzroy is a traitor mutant from the future who goes against his own kind, but Master Mold even instructs Nimrod to assassinate Fitzroy after the job is done. They successfully manage to kill Professor Xavier, but the whole process is undone by Bishop and the alternate versions of Wolverine and Storm who had been created following the death of Professor Xavier. Even though Nimrod fails in his assigned mission, he leaves a fragment of himself behind, and this is the part that infects a human named Richard Gilberti, who is revealed to be Bastion's biological father in X-Men 97. How is Bastion really connected to Nimrod? As we have discussed already, before leaving the timeline, Nimrod manages to infect Bastion's father, Richard Gilberti, who was a simple janitor. When Bastion was born to him, he became a human-machine hybrid, although he had no idea about his true identity. As a child, Bastion had some troubled experiences because he could communicate with machines, an ability that put him away from the regular kids. Ironically enough, this is similar to the experience of most mutants that Bastion now seeks to eliminate. When Master Mold was defeated by the X-Men, the mobile Sentinel factor uploaded its AI consciousness into the part of Bastion's brain that had connections with Nimrod. Thus, the connection between Bastion and Nimrod is actually a complicated one, and as Jean Grey explains, Bastion has actually descended from every Sentinel starting from Master Mold to Nimrod. Only he has evolved and mutated to become superior and more invulnerable, and he currently carries fragments of all these former selves. Is there a connection between Bastion and Nimrod in the comic books? X-Men 97 has always tried to be an accurate portrayal of some of the major comic book story arcs, even though the showrunners have added their own subtle twists in the narrative. As far as Bastion's origin story in the comic books is concerned, it is even more complicated than what we see in the show. For starters, Master Mold and Nimrod fuse together when Nimrod arrives from the future and blends into the present-day timeline as a human construction worker. This unholy fusion of the evil mastermind attacks the X-Men, but the mutant superheroes get the better of the Master Mold Nimrod composite being. They manage to push this being through the Siege Perilous, which is a magical portal to the multiverse. When an individual passes through the Siege Perilous, he is transformed and emerges with a new body. The individual then has no memories of his past life, and something similar happened with the Master Mold and Nimrod fusion. The newly created individual after passing through the Siege Perilous is none other than Bastion, and he lives with his half-human, half-Sentinel anatomy. A pleasant lady named Rose Gilberti adopts Bastion, who starts living a new life as Sebastian Gilberti. Initially, he doesn't pose a threat to anyone, but it all starts changing once he is exposed to the anti-mutant rhetoric. The dormant programming in his mind is activated, and it gets a further release when he becomes a part of the secret U.S. government program titled Operation Zero Tolerance. He oversees the Prime Sentinel program with a great enthusiasm, and Nimrod becomes one of his finest projects, completing a full circle of the timeline. Thus, even in the comics, a part of Bastion is Nimrod, or the consciousness of Nimrod and Master Mold fused together, and this is the part that gets triggered to fuel such strong anti-mutant feelings in Bastion. Marvelous verdict. Bastion is part of Nimrod and much more. It wouldn't be fair if we had a villain who wasn't fitting enough to challenge the might of the X-Men, and X-Men 97 has done the perfect job in setting up someone as twisted as Bastion. From all the backstory that we can get from X-Men, the animated series, and the comic books, it is fair to say that Bastion is not exactly the Nimrod that we see in the animated series from the 90s. He does contain a fragment of his sentience and brain, but the current existence of Nimrod is far more refined and evolved. He contains fragments of all the advanced Sentinels before him, and this includes the likes of Master Mold as well. The final product is probably the deadliest form of human-Sentinel hybrid that the X-Men could ever come across. The first part of the 3-part season finale of X-Men 97 has set things up perfectly for Bastion to rise as the dominating villain, but given that his initial plan with the Prime Sentinels has failed, we cannot wait to find out what he does next to fulfill his plans of mutant annihilation. We'd love to hear from you in the comments below about your thoughts on Bastion's portrayal in the show. Also, tell us what you think will be his role going ahead in a grand season finale and how the X-Men can possibly get the better of him. If you like the content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.